Yeah, and please do chuck your emails into the chat. It's really great. This is all about connecting people up, so that'll be fab. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Amber, if you are ready, Amber. She's going to be our first speaker today. So thank you so much. And yes, Amber.
That is fine. Let me just make sure I've got... Right. Let's see. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Not my notes. Okay, great. Okay. Oh, and now it's just moved. There we go. Okay. So, I need to go back to the beginning. I was just saying to Emily, I don't normally present on Zoom, so this is a new experience for me. I'm Teams all the way, so we'll see how this goes. Yeah, so I'm Amber, and I'm the relatively new Health and Environment Lead Advisor for the West Midlands. I cover Worcestershire, Warwickshire, Birmingham, and the Black Country, so that's my patch. And I'm going to be talking to you about how nature-based activities can support health and well-being, and how my role really relates to that. I know lots of you will have loads of knowledge around this already, but hopefully you'll learn something useful, or maybe even be able to connect me with contacts you have that could benefit from knowing this stuff. So yeah, first of all, you might wonder why Natural England are getting involved in getting people out into nature. We are a conservation organisation, so I think some people think that we just want to protect our places, and that means keeping the people out. But actually, we have 4 areas of work as part of our roadmap to nature recovery, and the health and environment work sits within the connecting people with nature part, but it obviously feeds into all 4 strands, and I think that all of them rely on a kind of intersection between people and nature in some way, because people can have very different ideas of what nature means to them, and so it's really important for us to understand what those are, and that helps us to understand how the two, so nature and people, can exist together and thrive together. So I just wanted to start with a little activity. As I said, nature can mean different things to different people. For me, I would say it's probably a place of calm if I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. So I just wanted, in the chat box, if you pop in what words or phrases spring to mind when you think about nature. And this is really personal to you. It's really just for your own reflections. If we have time at the end, maybe we'll readdress it. But yeah, it's more for you. Just bearing in mind, I cannot see the chat at the moment, so I'll have a look back through probably when I finish the presentation. Okay, so here's a bit of health context for our work in Walsall specifically, and this is sort of where I'm basing my work on. I'm sure many of you are really familiar with this, so you can tune out while you write what nature means to you in the chat or whatever. So Walsall has lower than average life expectancy for England. 1 in 5 Walsall residents has a limiting health condition, and half of those people say that it limits them a lot. The 2019 Index of Multiple Deprivation ranks Walsall within the most deprived 10% of districts within the country, although 6 of the 167 neighbourhoods are the least deprived in England, so there's quite a disparity there. And so within our health and environment work at Natural England, we would probably look more closely at those more deprived neighbourhoods and look at the health inequalities within those and how nature could address them. And then lastly, Walsall has the higher than the national average of children living in low income households. And this is really key for us within the sphere of social prescribing, because children are one of the underrepresented groups within social prescribing services more generally. So it's really a factor that we would consider. Why am I telling you all of this? It's really important to understand these health inequalities because nature and health are inextricably linked. And for example, so mental health problems disproportionately affect more deprived areas. People living in deprived neighbourhoods are 10 times less likely to have the greenest spaces. So there's a link there. And then health inequalities can be managed through exposure to green space, and I'll explain more about how later. But this is really just to illustrate that it's really important that we're looking at how nature can be used to tackle health inequalities. And there are many ways that this can happen. So through research and external research and our own research, we found that nature connection and nature-based interventions can improve health in a variety of ways. So can improve health and well-being. I'll go through that more next. It can also relieve pressure on the NHS, for example, by reducing reattendance at GP practices. It can bring communities together that may not otherwise engage in activities together. And it can eventually, the idea is that it will help with nature's recovery, because if people can enjoy and understand nature, they're more likely to want to look after it. And research has shown that pro-environmental behaviours and attitudes do increase the higher someone's connection to nature. So this is why we think it's really important, and our work is really important. There are so many wide-reaching benefits, a lot of which I didn't really know about until I started the role. For example, increased exposure to green space and nature is linked to physical benefits such as these I've just put up. So that could be lower levels of type 2 diabetes, obesity, immune system function, and it can even reduce cognitive decline. And it's also found to more generally just provide more health and wellbeing benefits than indoor activities. So it shows the importance of looking to the outdoors. And then on the right there's some mental health benefits which nature can provide. So these include lower stress and faster recovery from mental health issues. This could be an increase in mental well-being and resilience and happiness. And then it obviously can improve social connection and therefore feelings of belonging. Oh, that wasn't meant to happen. There we go. So yeah, it's really not surprising that people can and do benefit from being prescribed nature specifically to address health and wellbeing issues. 1 in 5 GP appointments, I'm sure some of you probably know this, 1 in 5 GP appointments are actually for issues that cannot be resolved by medical treatment alone. And so green social prescribing is a tool that can connect people to those local non-clinical activities to help their health and wellbeing. So that could be care farming, community gardening, walking groups, or even cold water swimming. So I'll just pop that up there, just to let you have a little read quickly. Okay. So yeah, I've just got some examples up here of the different green and blue social prescribing activities that we've come across in our work. And also I would say it's really exciting when we see green and blue social prescribing connecting up with other disciplines. So like art, physical activity and heritage and culture, they fit really nicely together. And a lot of these activities, like crafting and things, are brilliant when they're taken outside as well. So just sort of, yeah, I'm sure you all know this. So yeah, I would really love to have time to have everyone explain what activities you offer. But if you do anything different to what's on the screen right now, could you please just pop them in the chat along with the name of your group or organisation? And that would be really useful for me. And then also, if you're not someone who's directly offering services, if you could just, if you know of anyone or you're looking to be able to refer people to particular activities, pop that in the chat too. I'm just going to leave these up here for a few seconds so that you don't have to listen to my voice. Or you can have a break from my voice for a minute. Just going to have a quick look at the chat. Oh, great. Thanks, everyone. Fantastic. Okay. There we go. So yeah, I've talked about what kinds of activities people can be referred into, but these are the referral routes into those. So that could be, it's via multitude of ways. So this could be via GPs, community health services, advice centres, or it could even simply be self-referral. This is all part of a massive change in the NHS long-term plan towards personalised care. So that's just by delivering not just medical care, but also looking at what matters to the person. And social prescribing really helps people gain a sense of agency within their healthcare, and also a purpose and a connection to their local community, especially for those with low to moderate mental health needs. Many of the nature-based nature-based activity providers that we connect with actually have said that when people have joined onto the activities, they want to become part of the solution too. So they quite often will become volunteers for that organisation. So it just shows how well this system can work. Having said that, while green social prescribing is a fantastic tool for managing health and wellbeing, there are obviously difficulties and barriers to mainstreaming it, which is what we are working towards. For example, I'm sure many of you are very familiar with this, the financial difficulties and unsustainable funding streams, which make it really difficult to set up long-term referral options. We also need to be raising awareness amongst GPs and with the integrated care boards to sort of bring it closer to the communities it serves. And then also promoting green spaces closer to where people live, because transport's always listed as a really prominent barrier. And so if we can find those green spaces that are near to where people live, that can really help. So these are the kinds of barriers that Natural England are looking at to try and address. And it's all about connecting with the right players to make sure that things happen. Speaking of connection, so this is actually something that we think is really key to green social prescribing. And it's really to say that it's not about the contact. So it's not just about the time spent in nature. It's about nature connection. And there are found, so that just at the bottom here of the slide, there are 5 pathways to nature connection that we feel are really key. So for example, number 1, you've got through the 5 senses. So really you could touch, smell, you're looking at the nature around you, so you're really immersing yourself in that natural environment. And then also we've got meaning there, so really understanding what nature means to us and what emotions it evokes, which is kind of why I asked you about what nature means to you at the start, to start sort of teasing out that nature connection element. So yeah, this is just what we feel is really important, and it's, yeah, again, not just time spent in nature, it has to be meaningful time. So all of the activities that we're looking at or that we support, we try and really tease out that nature connection element. Okay, I promise I'm nearly finished. I think I'm all right for time. Am I, Emily?
Yeah, you're all good for time.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So yeah, we're not claiming to be the experts of how to do green social prescribing because we don't deliver the activities ourselves. But we do speak to a lot of people who are very experienced in the processes, and based on advice from various pieces of research that we've done and interactions that we've had, especially from our green social prescribing national pilots. These are just some of the considerations for green social prescribing providers or referrers to look at. So for example, on the left there, I've got, it's more geared towards the social prescribing link workers. I think, I'm not sure how many, I think there might just be one on the call. But yeah, so seeking transparency from activity providers, seeking that information about what the activities involve so that you can make appropriate referrals. And then obviously, potentially, if there is time, consider attending taster sessions, because then you can understand really what it all involves and whether it might be suitable for a patient. And then lastly, to help organisations understand how to contact their local link workers and make those connections much more easily and more efficient. And then on the right, we've got for nature-based providers, it's a really simple one, just consider basic mental health awareness training for the staff delivering activities. And then also seeking to understand how the referral pathways work in your local area and what link workers might be looking for in terms of referrals. And this is the kind of thing that we can support with, and why forums like this one, networks like this one, are so important. These are just some other considerations which have been found to lead to best practice in green social prescribing. A lot of these came out of evaluation from our green social prescribing pilots, which happened in 7 different areas across the country, and that had loads and loads of outcomes and evaluations, and this was just part of it. So for example, being really clear about what's being offered. So this could be in the form of, I've heard some great ideas about cheat sheets. So that can be just an A4 sheet of everything that a person can expect if they come along to an activity. Could include what clothes they need to wear, what available transport there might be, and the list goes on. So just really making somebody feel really comfortable to come along to a session, and not have to feel anxious about that side of it. Someone else that I've spoken to has actually they created a video of the site. So this was a community garden, and they did a video that they put on their website, which they were lucky enough to have. And this just made it really, really seamless for the person coming along to that activity. It was something that they didn't need to worry about because they were already semi-familiar with the site. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all of these because I think if you think they're going to be relevant to you, you can look back at them when Emily sends out the slides. But yeah, I just thought I'd pop those in there. And again, this is stuff that we can talk to you about. And if we don't have the answers, then we can put you in touch with somebody that might. Okay. And then finally, this is really just around what I can do to support you in green or blue social prescribing, aside from just sitting here and talking at you for 20 minutes about it. So the first one is accessing funding. Natural England don't have a big pot of money, unfortunately, that we can give out to groups. That would be great. But it's mainly about passing on external funding opportunities to groups that we work with. Occasionally, we do have funding that we can offer directly from Natural England, but this comes from things like underspend, so it's a bit ad hoc. But yeah, it's mainly when we come across funding that we think might be relevant for groups, we can then pass that on. Providing evidence and resources, we're constantly commissioning or publishing evidence that groups can use. This generally is a need from like the integrated care systems where they're trying to prove that green social prescribing works. So we're able to offer that evidence. But we also have resources and things around best practice and findings that from evaluation that other groups have used in activities. So we can pass that along as well. And then finally, I would say this is the bulk of my role, is really just connecting people across the sectors so that green social prescribing can grow and people can find out about best practice. It's really about making those links, like I said, between the main players and making sure that the right people are connected up to make things happen. And obviously, as we're not delivering activities, nor are we giving direct patient care, we feel like we're in a really great position and we have the time to kind of network more widely and make those needed connections. So yeah, please get in touch if you have any queries, or if you have any questions about what I've just presented, please let me know. That's it from me. Emily, if you could stop sharing from my end, and then I'd be happy to take any questions if anyone has any, or leave it till the end. Or if no questions, we can have a look at oh yeah, I forgot to say, actually, sorry, I forgot to say, on the going back to what everyone put in the chat box about nature, it was just an interesting thing to see whether, and you don't have to feed it back to me, but whether your perception of nature has changed throughout the presentation, or whether there were things that you realized that nature could be used for that you maybe didn't before. You don't have to reply to that, but yeah, just a thought.
Thanks so much, Amber. That was a really fab presentation. I don't know if anyone's got any questions. We've got some time now if anyone wants to ask anything. I was just going to say, in terms of shifts in perception, for me, there's this kind of idea of nature is this green, relaxing place, and then also this place of great energy and activity. And I think they're both really, really valid, and they both should be both, if that makes sense. So I just thought that was really lovely, and I hadn't really thought of it like that before.
No,
So
absolutely. That's great. Thanks for sharing.
has anyone got anything they'd like to ask or comment on?
Yeah. Walsall is one of the greenest places in the country. In fact, you can walk from Walsall to Birmingham without crossing a road.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Well, you think it's really
Absolutely.
in fact, it's amazing how much greenery is around Walsall.
Yeah, and it's about connecting those spaces up and making people aware of them and understanding what people want from those spaces, because I know from the few conversations that I've had with different people within Walsall, I think some of the time the public spaces, maybe people don't feel completely comfortable going to use them, or they need a reason to go and use them. And so that's where green social prescribing can be so great, is it gives people a kind of, I suppose, yeah, it's a bit of an incentive to go and actually enjoy those spaces, but maybe with a little bit of structure, because I know for me personally, there's nothing I like more than just getting out and going for a walk, or going to a green space, because I'm just happy to be there. But I think for a lot of people, and a lot of people I've spoken to, that's just not really on their agenda. And it's knowing what can be done in those spaces and how they can be enjoyed. So yeah.
Really good, definitely.
Thank you. Bill, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I think you need to develop an infrastructure where NHS, hospitals, clinics and surgeries need to work off the same page, because I agree with everything that you say. I've tried to promote green prescriptions. I used to attend a pharmacy group at the Manor Hospital, which is disappeared now. And I said to them, one of the prescriptions you can't give is a green prescription, and they all looked at each other blank. And I've tried to promote that. And I think problem like with hospitals, they've got lots of technical problems and problems in addressing waiting times and that. And when I've tried to promote nature, because I look after a couple of courtyard gardens, but I'm trying to expand it outside to make the hospitals biodiversity better. But I'm having a problem in influencing like estates management that it is good, and how they can link up in prescribing things. Like I have had with Nick from Mindkind on the corner of Lecky Road, they're doing some good work on that. I think they've got a piece of land opposite St Peter's surgery. I've been to meetings at St Peter's surgery with patients participation group, and they're just starting to look at it. And I've also spoken to people that have got mental health issues. I mean, I know quite a bit about mental health because I look after my wife who's got severe mental problems, but that's another story. And they've come back and said, oh, they mentioned green prescription. What's all that about? So I think there's a thing there where we need to educate people, and the health fraternity needs to explain the benefits of it. We all know what the benefits are.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. That's really useful. And I think it'd be great to have a chat with you separately, Bill, if that's okay. One thing that I would say in response to that is, and it's something that Natural England have kind of woken up to, I would say, in the last couple of months. So we've actually now got, so above myself and my colleague working as lead advisors in the West Midlands, we've now got a senior health and environment advisor. And so her job is specifically to go and sit on the integrated care boards and really get that conversation in at that level, and, you know, chatting to the NHS estates and seeing if we can kind of tap into it from both sides. And yeah, what you're saying absolutely rings true in loads of areas as well, not just Walsall. And I think, yeah, we do have people within Natural England who are trying to do exactly what you are saying. It is a slog, but I think it's worth pursuing. And yeah, we're hoping that from having the health leads trying from our side and the senior health leads trying from, you know, the board level, that we can try and, yeah, get the conversation going and, yeah, make sure that green social prescribing is known about, because that's really interesting to hear that they didn't really even know what it was. Also, I would say that the National Academy for Social Prescribing are also trying to do some work with NHS estates as well. So yeah, it's definitely on our radar. So, but it'd be great to have a chat with you.
Oops, sorry, thanks both. I'm just going to move the conversation on. I'd love to carry on chatting, but I'm very aware that Jane and LaiTan are waiting patiently to take over now. So we've got One Walsall chatting as well. I've got your slides. Just let me know if I can share them. Jane, LaiTan, I'm very happy to share my screen if that's helpful. I'm not sure what you'd prefer.
Yeah, you can go ahead and share your screen.
Share your screen. Sorry, Jane, you're muted, by the way. Sorry, I didn't hear that. Oh, no worries, it's fine. Thank you so much, Amber. I'll mute myself now and share my screen.
Oh, thank you. Okay, lovely. Well, shall I start, LaiTan? Yeah, sure, go ahead. Well, I'm Jane. I'm Development Officer at One Walsall, which is the local CVS organisation in Walsall. LaiTan is our funding officer. We work extensively right across Walsall. I suppose what's key is that we work with some of the organisations that have been on today. Our main aim is to promote sustainability within our organisations, and it's far-reaching what we do. Just to explain what's on the screen there, there's Marie Claire, who was helped to set up a charity by One Walsall. We do that. Very much supported by LaiTan in her funding application. So the impact we make is wide then, because that was to do with sickle cell anemia, and Marie is doing a huge amount. She's got Heritage Lottery funding. That's a CSR activity at the bottom there, so we help with volunteering and CSR activity as well. It's from volunteering to forums, to networks, everything that we can do to help create a really lively, sustainable activity across Walsall. Have you got anything to add there, LaiTan, or shall we go to the next slide? Next slide's fine. Next slide, please, Emily. So that's one of our networks for our community interest companies that we held very recently. Talking is incredibly important to us, that people are talking and collaborating, because the third sector is all about collaboration. Working in the not-for-profit sector says that our aim is to create and support a sustainable sector through the development work that we do, with support with funding, encouraging collaboration through networks, and working at a strategic level in Walsall. We also run a very busy volunteer centre. We offer training and advice and guidance within that. So we'd have the next slide, that'd be lovely. So I'm the Development Officer. That's a picture of one of the community interest company network events we had. I work the journey that anybody who comes to us is, as soon as a group comes to the door, they join our membership. Then they're open, they get access to all our support. We work to ensure first that group is sustainable. So we look at their governance, their policies, what their aims are, what they want to achieve. We've got a development tool that I deliver, which is a business development tool. So we look if they're getting the right structure, because not-for-profit structure can include charities, small community organisations, and also community interest companies or social enterprises, limited by guarantee, that are open for funding opportunities. We only deal in that sector. But we make sure they've got the right structure in place, that they can go forward, they can deliver activities. So we also support with early project planning, ensuring it's ready to progress for funding applications. If it's a CIC, we look at income streams, we look at logging into companies' house and making sure that they're thinking broadly about the business aims, objectives of the business. And we really do promote network events and training to help groups develop. We have forums, we promote through our newsletter, and we use our volunteer centre for promotional activity. Any group that wants to use the volunteer centre on Thursday, can use it free of charge. We've had Acorn Children's Hospice, we've got NHS Health Watch coming in. A whole range of activities, networks and workshops can happen on that day. That's the way that we use to promote. That lady there on the poster is Ebony, who again is Rose Tinted Finance CIC, but also doing a Heritage Lottery project and also looking at green spaces as well. So we do like to connect organisations working cross sectors. We have creative sector. We also have the green spaces, environmental sectors that we do try to link people together so they know what's going on, what's happening within Walsall, promote events. When people have seen us and I've got that organised, and they want to go for funding, the next person they'll go along to it is LaiTan. Have the next slide, please. There's LaiTan at the allotment. LaiTan, do you want to have a chat?
Yes. I'm LaiTan, funding officer, and I'm just repeating that because I know that we've had new people join since my first introduction. And what I do at One Walsall is I support our groups to access funding. So One Walsall is a membership organisation, and we are funded so that we can provide that free support to our organisations. It's free up to 6 hours a year for everyone that joins. And that means you can access, I know I'm just pretty much repeating what Jane has said, and that means you can access development work. A lot of people who benefit from this would be new organisations who have no idea how to go about setting up a not-for-profit. And once we take them through that stage, they go from development to accessing funding and to being sustainable. And it's just that 360 kind of offering that helps build your organization, which indirectly then helps us have a better community as a whole in Walsall. And while we ourselves, because I know Amber asked that question when she's doing her presentation about which of these do we fall into? She asked everyone in general when she made the list of all the things, all the activities, and which one did we fall into? And I just had to come up to say that while we ourselves don't do any sort of green work, we're not into gardening, we don't do any of those nature things, we're not like the bumblebee there. What we do have is medium-sized number of organizations who do that. So there is a considerable network of green green spaces, natural spaces, organizations that are members. So I know there are quite a few allotment gardens. I think Bumblebee Bumblebee Conservatory is also one of our members. I think Learning Through Landscape is one of the projects we supported with. And that's basically involving all the schools around it and helping them learn through landscapes, if you wish. But yeah, I even, off the top of my head, there's also the canals, PACCG. They help clean up the canals and they get some funding from the Canal Trust, and we also support them, get some funding as well to clean the canals. And yeah, so I work closely with Jane and also with Gary. Gary is not here. Gary is our monitoring and evaluation officer. And together, while Jane works on the development of the organization, and that overlaps with my work as in funding, because then there's a bit of project development as well, because part of your development as an organization, to be able to get to that point where you can ask funders for money, you need to be well developed as an organization, and that leads into project development as well. And then that connects to our colleague, Gary, who is monitoring and evaluation, because all projects need evidence. They need outcomes measuring. And once you're measuring the outcomes of one project, then you can use that to support the next project. And that all goes hand in hand. And that's where we come in. The next slide, which is the last slide. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, go ahead, sorry. It's your slide.
No, you go ahead, you go over talk. You carry on.
No. You, I didn't mean to jump in, so go ahead. I'm just guessing. I didn't know what you were going to say here, but I'm guessing, I'm guessing just about all the groups that we support here.
Yeah, this is the scope of the work that we do. I mean, we've got Ebony's event, which is in the Arboretum. This is a community just company. We've got the event that we promote events. If you do join us, you can promote through our newsletter, which goes to all our membership. Join our forums, use the volunteer centre, as I said. We're going, Volunteer Week is coming up. There's Nikki. In International Women's Week, we had a big event. We do events to generate lots of activity in Walsall. We have guest speakers like Cathy Brown from the Initiative for Social Entrepreneurs, giving training sessions to people about how to set up and grow their CICs. We've got community events, a coronation event we went to recently. So we're connecting with all these groups. In fact, that group there are planning to have a picnic on the West Midlands Mayor's Charity Weekend, which is in September. They're aiming to have a picnic. And what the outcome will be nature walks to connect people who live right by the park there with the park. And they think by having the picnic, they're having the large group there. It's a large group of over sort of 65, 70s who don't actually use the park. And their aim is to start walking groups, start sort of nature and represent, appreciating the nature on the doorstep through that project. So that's what we're delivering at the moment. Yes, Community Red, sort of basically homelessness, Metaminds of the company. So that's a wide range of organisations we work with, and we help support the industry. That's us really. So if anybody wants to join us, please get in touch. I know that we work with a lot of you. Or have any questions, please do get in touch.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, LaiTan and Jane. Has anyone got any questions now they'd like to ask? No? Well, if you could all pop your email addresses, I'm sure people will think of things over the next few days and after letting all that information kind of percolate. Really, really great to have you both here, and thank you so much for sharing your work and sharing us loads of ideas about how your organisations can support the voluntary sector and also particularly around these key areas. So that's really fab. A few little things before we kind of call time, unless there's any other comments. As part of our project, we are doing a bit of impact assessment and looking at what people think about this network, basically. And so we've got a questionnaire. It shouldn't take more than a few minutes, and it's just really to assess how useful people find these sessions, if at all. They're anonymous, so we're not going to know who said what, but we'd really, really appreciate some feedback if you feel like you've got some time or anything you'd like to comment on, positive or negative. I've just put that link in the chat. So that would be fab if everyone feels like they would like to fill in the questionnaire about these sessions. And then I'm going to finally pass over to Carolyn, if you're ready, Carolyn, just to mention about your event that's coming up.
Thank you, Emily. Give me 1 second to put bits together. So I've just put in the chat your load our poster for the event. I mean, I've got some very basic slides. I could just do it. It's literally just like 3 slides to get it on the screen. That's okay.
Of course, yeah. Can you share it? Okay.
Yeah, of course. Just a second. Let's try.
Just so you know, Carolyn, your connection feels a little bit jumpy.
I can sense that. And Emma at their previous part of the project, and just to ask Bomb Equation Trust. I mean, many of you are aware, but in case you're not, we're the only charity in the UK wholly focused on bumblebees, and basically our focus is to reverse the decline we've seen in decades of bumblebees. Essentially, we're a new project focused. A lot of our previous have been, because we're very much focused on people engagement. Why this event? So we've got our poster here as Family Fun Day, but this will be effectively our community launch in Walsall. Hoping to hopefully look good as the forecast is looking. Is the profile of the project. and starting there'll be our first big kind of awareness raising, and that will be what the project continues to do. The event. Anyway, I put the poster in the chat and also links to social media posts that are up at the moment. Just help get the word out there. That'd be really. Yeah, basically that's it. Does anyone have any questions?
I was just going to say, I feel like the connection maybe wasn't great then. We got the gist of what you were saying, Carolyn. I'm afraid I missed quite a bit of that, but we've got all your links in the chat.
Yeah, that's fine. That's perfect. Thank you. Sorry.
And so we will share them as wide as possible, and hopefully lots of people will be able to make it.
Yes, that's the hope. I did also want to flag up because is Paul and Yuka still around? I'm not sure. Maybe they're not. But we were wondering after the launch in particular, we would be keen to maybe look at talking to a number of allotments and seeing whether we could, not that we can necessarily do events at all allotments, but we'd love to see if we can do some follow-up planting workshop, maybe like a 1 or 2 allotments, and use it as kind of a networking opportunity. So I just thought I'd throw that out there and see if we can speak about that later. But I'm speaking with Yoka later today, and hopefully we can email Paul if that's okay.
That sounds fab. I was going to say, Carolyn, as well, we've got an amazing group of people who work for various allotments as part of the network.
Yeah. Yes.
They're all CC'd in all the emails, so I can point you in direction of some of them if that's helpful as well.
That would be really useful. If there are any kind of networks for allotment groups, that'd be really useful. Yeah. Thank you.
Amazing. Has anyone got anything else they'd like to mention about today, or any upcoming events they'd like to talk about? No? Okay, well, in that case, we've gained 10 minutes. Look at that. I've never been on time for anything, so that's nice. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We've had some really, really interesting conversations, so thank you. Carolyn, are you happy to share your slides with me, and then I can share them with the group as well? Brilliant. I'll be sending all these to everyone so you'll be able to see them, and I'll also put the recording up so that everyone can re-watch or share with anyone else they think it might be really relevant for. But otherwise, thank you so much. Have a lovely rest of your day. Our next session is going to be in 2 weeks' time, and I believe that is on, what is the date of that? That's a good question. I want to say the 31st. Have I made that up? It's in 2 weeks today, basically, so whenever that is. 31st. Thank you, Mary. My calendar is somewhere, but I don't know where it's gone now because of Zoom. The next session will be Wednesday the 31st. I'm really excited to invite a guest speaker from a really successful green social prescribing project from North Yorkshire to talk to us. Wonderful guy called Anthony. He's going to talk about his experiences with green social prescribing. It's not based in Walsall, but there's some really interesting similarities. And he's going to be talking about the project and the pilot program that he's been leading as part of the Smile Foundation. So really looking forward to that. Hopefully people will be able to join us. If not, no stress. We'll be recording the whole thing and we will share it with the whole group so everyone will be able to access that in their leisure. Otherwise, thank you very much and we'll see you soon.
Okay, bye everybody.
Guys, have a lovely day.
Thanks everyone.
Bye. Bye bye. See you later, Caroline.